you know? And so what happened was Weathersfield got this designation. And so Weathersfield now has a greenway that goes all the way to the town line of Rocky Hill and it stops. But what we wanted to do, and that's why we were doing it, we would try to do it with Weathersfield initially, was to continue that from the Weathersfield line to the ferry. Wouldn't that be beautiful? I mean, people ride it all the time, people walk it all the time. It's already utilized by the public. It's already a done deal. It's just putting a sign up.
Through the meadows, you're saying?
Through the meadows.
Yeah.
Meadow road.
And it's a public road.
It's a public road.
We do get funds for it.
And
Minimal,
But I
we
think the
get funds.
designation concerns the farmers, that everything you say is true, but by this designation, it would create publicity for people to come to it, and it would increase the traffic there. And then they're going back to the way things were before the gates were closed.
How could that
and the
happen
other-
if
You won't
they
be
don't
having
let vehicles
vehicles.
in?
The, understood, I think,
Increase volume of walkers, bikers, and all that.
and
There was that
then,
concern.
Nothing against
You're-
renaming, you're just naming the same road, something.
Greenway.
Greenway,
Yeah.
but by doing that, the farmers were thinking it would create publicity for this and attract
Right.
more foot traffic and so on. Not saying, that's more their concern.
Right.
I got from that.
and I think that the concern was security, you know, who is going to, like, you know, if there is like rubbish and things like that, that's, you know, out there, who would be responsible? So I think we have to think of all that and say, would town resources be used, and will town have to, you know, set up some
Are we gonna do
funding
that?
and stuff, right?
Okay,
Are we
This
gonna
is
do
a
that
different-
on this?
Yeah.
I
This
understand.
is a
We're not gonna
different-
do
I
that on
understand. I
But
this.
think-
this one doesn't
Yeah.
deal with the meadows.
Correct.
Yeah.
But
But
it's
that
still a
was the
path
fir-
that people could use, and we're not assuming they're gonna dump their trash as they bike along. I know, we're getting off track. I just think there was a lot of, there were a lot of assumptions and a bit of overblown fear on the part of the farmers. That I think we'll address that.
I will say, if I can, is that I was told by somebody on the council that, well, they tabled the last greenway, right? And I was told, well, I asked them, I said, what's the next step?
Yep.
Well, the next step was that they wanted to hear from Lori Giannotti to clear up their questions.
They had questions.
In other words, you know, the farmers, farmers are concerned, I can't drive, we're not gonna be able to drive our tractors on the road anymore. Incorrect. Lori Giannotti could say, and she's the state person.
Yep.
So that's the other greenway.
Yep.
And I would suggest if this committee does anything, we would just ask the council, I don't know if you would agree, that if they're gonna take that off the table and invite Lori Giannotti to a meeting to do that, so that the council could have their information and they could rule on the Meadows one. But this is a different one, right?
Right.
And this goes from Quarry, as you see, if you look at the map, basically, it's all on town property. It goes through 3 miles of the quarry, and you see the difference between the trails and the road. Then it goes on Esther Road, which is an entrance and exit. Goes down Riverview Road, which is the historic district, that's, Center and the Rocky Hill Ferry Historic District. Then it goes down to the ferry and down to Sir Willow, and then it follows Pratt Street, which is again part of the historic district. And the only real problem that I have with this, being walking friendly is once you get on Dividend Road from Pratt Street to Oak Street, it's not the most
Not
comfortable
friendly at
walk
all.
right there, but it goes to Buckley, and then if you go down Dividend further, it ends up to Dividend Pond, which is, you got 3 miles of trails there, so.
It'd be nice if we could connect it from Sir Willow to Buckley somehow. I know there's private land in between.
Well, that would be the dream, but with the
Condos.
railroad being active now, that's kind of
Active
gonna.
railroad and condominiums, and then
Yeah.
you need an easement or something through there.
I don't predict that it needs to be a feasible walking trail from start to finish. So, I mean, I can't imagine anybody walking from Quarry to Dividend, so I
True.
don't worry
Yeah.
too much about the Dividend piece. You
Yeah.
could bike that, and I mean, I bike Dividend, it's not
Mhm.
bad,
No.
but, so that's understandable, but.
But that's what we're calling the Rocky Hill Greenway, and that, our hope is that we start somewhere, right? That's the
Okay.
goal. We want, our plan of conservation says again, interconnect open space into a green belt, right?
Yep.
So we have a series of trails, but now we want to interconnect. We want the public to know, like we started to put some wayfinding signs up, right? We put one on Esther Road,
Mhm.
so people now know that Quarry, you can go to Quarry Park there. Put one for Dividend, there's one for Dividend. We got a couple more that are gonna be installed for,
September probably.
for Buckley. So, you know, we need to let people know where things are, and then the quality of life increases, in my opinion, with these signs. So, I guess, do we wanna have any other questions or comments on this one? And then you're asking for this committee to send it to
Right.
the council.
And once the council, if they approve it, then we'll just get the forms, there are the two forms, the letter and the form application, get those to the mayor, I guess, and that's it. It's not a huge process.
Who would present it to town council?
You could,
Yeah, I think you
Yeah.
guys did last
Oh,
time.
do you
right?
want
Yeah,
us-
you'd have
well,
to get me
yeah.
the forms so I can get it on an agenda.
oh, okay.
And then
You'll have to get
So
those,
that's
yeah.
the
Okay,
best way
yeah,
of doing it.
Are we, when is the next meeting? Are we in time for,
Well,
no, not next Monday, the Monday
Week
after?
and a half.
Week and a half.
I think it was like the 16th or something.
16th.
It doesn't have,
And then there's only one meeting in September.
So we wanna get it on the 16th agenda.
The,
like last time.
August
The
16th.
16th or,
Yes.
or like September 16th, the third Monday in September.
20th?
Well, I'd like to get it on as soon as possible. I mean,
Next one's the
this is
September
quick to get
20th.
it
So
to
we're
the
talking
council.
about
I'm sorry,
September meeting?
September's 20th.
can't we get it to the August 16th?
I mean, again, I think it's,
I'll just get you the
I think
forms.
The question, do you want this whole path, because you said like one of the roads not
Dividend
really
Road is-
walkable? Is it better go from Quarry down to,
No, I would go for
Fair
the whole
use.
thing.
Fine,
Let's
because you
do
can
the whole
bike.
thing. Yeah, you
Yeah.
can bike it.
You have the bike, you can certainly
Yeah.
bike it easily,
Yeah.
I've walked it, I mean, it's
I would
just,
do this-
it's just
Uh,
not,
It's not
the most
user-friendly.
pleasant.
It's very narrow, it's a blind interchange
Hey.
at,
Once
hey,
again.
how about if we
Steep
brought it
uphill
through
side.
Center Cemetery?
that could work.
Yeah, but Center
You going
Cemetery
across?
goes down halfway down Dividend, and then you still have to get on Dividend.
Right, but you're missing this
You're missing
whole,
the worst
almost
part.
this whole section, which is the worst part. And that would just, I know it's,
Yeah.
it's an addition, but it's simple, you know, you're going through a historic cemetery now. And we end up at the south end of it.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I find crossing
Makes
over.
sense?
Okay.
I'm
I
not,
don't know, maybe you want to.
I'm not sure if you, yeah.
Huh?
I don't have a problem with it, I
There's
just
a-
don't know how
there's a
people
lot of-
take it going
there are
through the
a lot of
I would
cemetery, you
keep
know,
it
if
on
in
it's
the
that
like
area where you can cross the path.
disrespect or something, I
Yeah,
don't know,
when
you know,
go
I
No.
don't
past
know.
Dividend.
no,
That's
because
true.
now
That's a
we
high
are
accident
opening up
location.
more for, you know, public comments and stuff like
People
that.
might get
and it
offended
can, you
going
know,
through the cemetery.
That's the only thing I'm thinking.
Yeah,
that
I think-
you may
I think we
he's
should keep it on
disrespecting
Dividend.
you,
That's
but
fine,
Because if you're a biker, you'll do it. If you're not,
That's true.
you won't.
okay.
People go to cemeteries all the time, do
Potential
rubbings.
damage,
yep,
Yeah, that's
It's
right.
a-
But
If we thought the farmers got upset,
yeah.
yeah.
we don't want all those relatives.
We don't want the ghosts,
Okay, so I'm gonna get the
Barbara's
two
in there.
forms to you, John.
Yeah. And would you use this packet? This whole thing would go,
Not the whole thing, I'll get the,
just tell me what, it doesn't have to be attached to the agenda, it could be
Kim, will you send, do you need
I
it?
can send what you gave us.
Okay, and you can send that to John for
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
council packet,
But,
and I'll send,
I
Ed and I'll
have
get
the
together on the
application.
application and the letter.
sure, yeah.
Okay. And then,
The resolution, right? I think last time the resolution. There was
at this
something-
meeting?
No,
Oh, up there, wouldn't they just make a motion to approve it? I think that's what they did in Weathersfield, it just came up, you know, all in favor?
I think, did we draft last time?
usually they vote on the letter,
Oh, they have to vote, Okay.
there's some sort of document to support.
oh, all right.
'Cause I think
Whatever,
we
I
did
don't know
last
what
time,
it
I
is.
think there was something,
Is that-
Well,
I think we
we'll
had,
see what we did last time. We'll go
Well,
back-
it never
we'll go
got
to
that
the
far.
archives and-
no, but they had in the package, I think what he's looking for, whatever we submitted last
Oh,
time,
right,
that's
that's
what
the,
they get.
that's what I'm gonna get, right,
Yeah.
we're gonna have that again. Absolutely, that'll go out tomorrow to you. Copy you.
We need the, in the future, to see if we can get Lori in, or,
Exactly, yeah, Lori, Giannotti? is it?
Giannotti.
Giannotti?
Yeah, because again,
for explanation.
right, I mean, this is, again, we can submit it anytime, it's not, they won't act until whatever. So, I think, you may have, and like maybe call Lori and she can explain what it is.
But this has been approved by Lori, this has been past her desk, and,
Understood, and
so and I know maybe I'm repeating
No,
myself.
I'm talking about the other. the
Oh,
middle.
the farmland, oh yeah, that's down the road.
That's something
But
that's
That's,
paid
that,
in
we don't
after.
want that on the same agenda as this.
No.
No.
I'd like to just
No,
get this
No.
no.
on the August
That's the-
16th
Don't
agenda.
Don't address
and
that
then-
till December,
Oh, that's a good
No,
time.
yeah.
please.
Right.
You can bring candy canes.
Yeah, right.
It'll be on the
She can wear a
Christmas
Santa suit. Okay. Thank you for the time on this.
POCD spreadsheet results today. I think we had two comments.
We had, actually, Melissa mentioned, I forgot to mention her, too. She was in there as well. So Melissa gave me comments, Sandy gave me comments, Victor gave me comments that are in this one. And I think,
I gave you the numbers. Is that what you mean by comments, the numbers?
well, the numbers.
Yeah, I sent it in with the numbers, yeah.
So, based upon what we got back, and not everybody submitted things, but, what you see is priorities, and we decided that, one was priority, and three is not as.
One was highest, three was
Yeah,
lowest.
yes.
Okay,
Yeah, now, some people put in who they saw as leaders and partners, whereas others did not. So those that put things in, they're included here. Some people just said everything was a priority.
Seems like everybody thought their thing was the number one.
Yeah, and I mean, it makes sense that, I mean, if you're on the Wetlands Commission, you may think that those items are more appropriate, because you are in fact representing that board, versus, say, a planning and zoning member that may have a more broader view. Human Services may have a different perspective also, or maybe as a resident, you may have a different perspective too.
Both
You know,
influenced
so,
by answers.
yeah, I kind of responded that way as well. Feel free to take a look if you have any comments or disagreements with what is here, let us know. Obviously, we can't do everything at once, so if everything's in one, we're not gonna do it at a time. And we will have to farm out tasks to other boards and commissions or departments to deal with things. Some of these things have in fact been done as far as, for example, subdivision regulations, we talked about, we modified our subdivision regulations. There are some things we'd like to maybe tweak on that, or our zoning regulations per se, and we have a lot of new legislation
New
coming down the
legislation,
pipe
yeah.
that
In fact,
that will affect this. And this was answered before that legislation came out, so that may change for at least myself and maybe members of the planning and zoning commission, so. Do you have anything to say?
Not,
Town council would put on an annual picnic for volunteers.
Oh, are they? Yeah.
Is that
Okay.
That's the only three, I think,
That's the three.
beside
That's the three.
the
It's not a-
architectural review
it's-
board, which would probably be like a 7, right?
Well, that's why we're only going, that's why we're only going to 3, you
Yeah.
know? So, I don't know if anybody has any.
I think what we'll do is now just go through, now that everybody has commented, right? And then we'll have to keep on discussing as, certain priorities, because we're not going to address all that you said, so. 'Cause there's so much here. So there's like, so we're gonna review, we'll just review and come up with set of number ones.
Everything's number one.
Everything is,
Yeah,
everything,
everything
That's the
everything's
problem,
one,
everything's
yeah.
number
That's the
one.
problem.
So it would seem to reason
Yeah.
that you would probably, in
Yeah.
my opinion, wanna get like, let's agree on a top 10 or top 8, because there's, like, we're looking at 6 pages,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Everybody thinks it's high priority, so I would think that we have to come to an agreement on what is realistic to tackle, come up with that number, and then find a way to process of elimination, just table the rest of the things, not get rid of them, but, right? I mean, how else are you gonna?
Yeah, and I think, the thing might be low hanging fruit where we don't have to spend money. I mean, that's the first thing.
I agree.
Right,
Nicole,
because-
that I think we might now number them, not just what we think is most important, but what's most feasible.
Right.
Right.
What can we
Right.
really do right now,
Right.
as opposed to burying all the overhead lines? Oh, that's a number one,
Yeah,
but
that's-
good lord.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think,
So,
what can we really do?
I'm just looking at it like this here. Page number. Action steps, page 80, support other methods of transportation here. And sidewalks, we're building sidewalks all the time. And we're always looking to do something that, and, you know, if it's not, we do it 2 ways. Yeah, there's, well, 3 ways. There's the developer who has to do it, but then they get them waived. And then that money's supposed to go into a pot, which John has.
Well, we ran into a problem at planning and zoning with that, so that's one of the things that we're trying to fix.
Yeah.
That we can't force developers to put money into a kitty, we have to ask them to. 'Cause
We can't tell them to do it.
Oh,
That's
Uh,
something.
only in a subdivision,
Are we
then you
talking-
can tell
okay.
them to do it.
Right.
But if you have someone, a commercial person developing a property, it's not in our regulations to say, to
Ah.
force them. We can ask them to
Yeah.
put money into the fund.
Yeah.
And one of the priorities that we asked Kim, after we found that out, it came up on dividend with Guy Rockamora trying to improve his property.
Yeah.
And he said, I'm gonna build a sidewalk to nowhere.
Yep.
And then we kept on saying, well, we want a sidewalk, we want sidewalks, we want sidewalks. We went to the whole spiel, about 40 minutes of talking about sidewalks. And then we all realized that we can't really force this guy to put sidewalks in. We have no meat in our regulations other than subdivision. He's not putting a subdivision in.
Right.
We can't force
He's
him.
just doing a
So
site
he-
plan.
So he said, you know what? I'll gladly donate money to the sidewalk fund.
Yeah.
Just please let me
Which
do
is
that.
not it wasn't a condition?
It wasn't a condition, but he
Right,
said,
right,
I'm
right,
doing
right.
it voluntarily.
Yep, yep.
Do we,
We do have a section in our zoning regs that does talk about pedestrian bicycle access, and that was mentioned during the process.
Yeah.
do
So
we
do
have
that.
a formula for how much they put into this?
Yeah, that's
Kitty?
set-
Cost.
That's set,
Only on the
Is it equal to-
subdivision.
The
but
current
it's
cost
something-
of the sidewalk.
yeah.
But like
And I
Guy
come up with that.
Rockamora, if he's not required, then he can come up with his own amount?
Yeah.
so
That ought to be addressed.
I think the problem was the ordinance. I think
So
the
we're
ordinance
trying to
talks
fix it.
about, just,
Sidewalk-
subdivisions.
Yeah, the ordinance strictly says subdivision. So
Right.
if it's a residential subdivision or
Then-
commercial subdivision, they can, if they're waived, they can contribute to
They
the
can.
sidewalk fund.
But it's only subdivision.
Only
Why can't,
subdivisions.
is this something to address, and I'm not on P and Z obviously, but is this something to address, that we start incorporating commercial development into this sidewalk
So
requirement?
so I think the first
We
step
wanted
would
to
be
come-
to
we-
change.
That's what
We wanted to
that's
come
what
here
we
and talk
want.
about it, to
Yeah.
say, is it coming from here to, just like we're doing this greenway? Do we say, hey, the PIC needs to have this happen, and is it in the ordinance, or is it in our zoning regulations, or both?
And,
It should be
and,
part of the zoning regs. I mean, it is, but it needs to be
Yeah, clarify, it needs to be in.
stronger
it
language.
needs- They need to understand.
Yeah, but the ordinance, does that need to be clarified and added to? And another thing that I know Victor and I had discussed was, when the town engineering and community development services puts forth their sidewalk plan for budget times, can this board or planning and zoning or whatever at least recommend, as you do that, recommend, we've seen a need for sidewalks in this area of town, as a recommendation. What happens with that recommendation, who knows, but could they do that?
we can discuss that
Yeah.
during this meeting. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
that would be part of this discussion and so.
I think it comes out of this meeting and not
Yeah.
planning and
And
zoning.
then,
Yes.
and then go to,
Yeah.
P and Z.
Our
So-
suggestion goes to P and Z.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So going back to what I was saying, so we have that avenue, we have our regular sidewalk program, which we use LoCIP money, and when you have state money, your hands are kind of tied with some bidding procedures, because once you reach $50,000 and up, you have to follow the CHRO. And with sidewalks, we have these mom and pop operations, that's an owner and 4 employees, and for him to farm out 25% of that work to somebody else,
Wait a
and to
minute.
do that paperwork is asinine.
The CHRO, we have to, depends on
Because
whom
we
we
have state,
contract, we have to
No,
consider the
We're using
CHRO?
state
we get
money.
state,
Oh.
most of
You
the state
exceed a
funds.
certain limits,
Okay.
there's a lot of strings starting
Yes.
to come out.
They have to
So
have
sort of
25%
what
So
Steve
does
is
that
saying
mean,
is,
so does that mean less,
we're gonna do.
we get less because of all the
We
strings?
do less.
Or,
Cause see, we were doing $100,000 a year in sidewalks, so we could do a nice stretch. Now it's $49,999.99.
to have
And
full,
then you
to have
get
full
CHRO.
control.
To have full control, otherwise, you can ask Roger at General Paving, the first time he did it was on one of our projects, his old Forge, it took him like a year to get his, you have to do this document, this plan for CHRO, how to do it, it took him like a year to write it and go back and forth with CHRO to make sure it's correct. It took a year to get that thing approved.
For what on Old Forge? No sidewalks there.
No, we did, milled and paved, there was
Oh.
we had
There was
state funds.
money, any
State
state
money.
money. and
So
So
it's
how do you do it?
$49.9 per year to stay out of the CHRO? No more than $49.99
We
per
can't go over
year,
50,000, and when.
in a year, or
For,
in a
for a
job.
particular project.
Oh,
Any
so we could do
project.
many $49.99
So you have to,
projects.
you have to say,
Well, you have
but
to
if you wanna
submit
do,
for reimbursement.
yeah, if you wanna do
Paperwork.
a long stretch, it's gonna be more than that. So now all of a sudden you're going stopping at driveway number 17, and then next year we're gonna start at number 21 or whatever and keep going. So it ties our hands somewhat. And it's been brought to many people's attention too, how silly this is. Low
So
amount of
would
money.
you, so would you say the best way to do it is fill in small patches?
That's what we've been doing. We've done a lot of that in the last 20 years. And we have areas targeted. I mean, this group has talked about trying to get towards the river, so we've looked at a path down Washington. We think we can get that one relatively soon. As I said, the town manager, the finance
We do
has
have
money.
funds that we could use, just town money. and
Yes,
seek
it's town money, so we could bid that.
So I
With
think
town work,
LoCIP's
with
good.
town workers, or you have to
No,
hire
no,
out
we
the?
have to- yeah, we don't. our guys
LoCIP's
don't do
dollar for
sidewalks.
dollar match, so.
Yeah. So those are our things, but what I'm saying is, we do this on a daily basis, yearly basis, so, I know it's a high priority, but we're already doing it. So I don't know if you have to say it's priority number one. We're doing that.
But I guess, their input, they want their input
Yeah.
to be at least considered in
Sure.
the
But you're doing
process.
what? You're
If,
dealing with the issue of mandating
Well-
commercial buildings putting in sidewalks? Is
No,
that
no,
what
you're just saying,
That's what we
continue to
started
expand.
this
No.
discussion.
No, I'm just saying, you're saying, continue to expand pedestrian networks in Rocky Hill.
He said commercial, and then that's what.
Yeah.
So
That's
I'm
what
just
we
going
were
on a
off
tangent.
track.
And I said
But
there's
think
3
that's
ways that we
important
do it.
Because commercial is so big now.
Well, that's not on here, this is just talking about different, building new sidewalk connections, establishing.
But we hit a
So-
roadblock when it comes to commercial. Yes, we want to
Yeah.
improve the walkability, but if it's commercial, if you want sidewalks on dividends,
Yeah.
there you go. We hit
What
the roadblock.
what I'm
We-
saying
we're-
is, we're filling the gaps like it says here, we're doing that
Okay.
kind of stuff, so it's,
That's not my point, okay.
Yeah.
But it sounds.
Right, right, I mean, I think, I think what happened is we
We're
had
going
a
down.
road guard, so now we
Yeah.
have to, and at least in my opinion, what I like to see is like, hey, there is no argument that this doesn't go anywhere. If you don't put it, it will never go anywhere.
It's got to
I
start.
mean, it has to start.
That's right,
That's
I
the
agree.
problem, that's where I was
If we
coming from.
set a precedent,
Right,
that's right.
and
So-
it will, and then what happens is, for example, this project that we didn't put, sidewalks. If town wants to put it in 5 years later, it's going to be more expensive. It may be like double the cost that
Correct.
somebody may have contributed to the account. So that is the problem, like,
But on the
just-
contrary, that 30 feet could work well on Hayes Road where we need 30 feet.
Correct.
So the same amount of money
That's
can
an
go
area we're
somewhere
looking
else
at.
where we can get all the, if we come up with this master low-hanging fruit list
Yep.
of
Yeah.
things, we can ask commercial guys, say, you know what, okay, yeah, sidewalk to nowhere, but guess what? That 30 feet of cost can go somewhere else in town where it'll get more bang for its buck.
exactly. Yeah, Hayes Road, we can complete a
I
big loop.
just mentioned
I'm
Hayes
just
Road
saying,
just
I
because.
got Hayes Road,
Yeah.
big
Yeah.
loop. There's one on French Street, which is gonna be a little trickier, cause we're gonna need walls. We have, what we're doing Elm Street, but that's with state funds.
So we
There's-
get,
there's
see what
another
he's
one I
saying
think
there,
I-
we
I
get
know.
argument.
So I
I
have the
understand.
locations, just
So it sounds,
Check.
you didn't name the third one.
I'd rather get to the river than put a sidewalk, 30 feet of
You said
sidewalk.
you
on
had
The thing
there.
is,
You said you had three different ways of doing sidewalks. One was
well, it
through the P and Z regs, sort of.
be put in the
The other
budget.
one was low SIP.
Yep,
Oh,
and
the
then
other
just
one-
regular budget,
Oh, budget.
regular
so-
budget
so-
item, rather than,
That's what John said.
yeah.
So,
it's just
so
budget
can we,
for it every year.
can we revise this number one where it says, continue to expand pedestrian network in Rocky Hill by, and then we need to revise the P and Z regs somehow, or assess and revise,
Ordinance, ordinance.
right? I don't know if this one is accurate. Require sidewalks in new developments and as part of new.
These are taken out of the POCD.
It's a POCD.
This is
I understand.
taken out of there. We
But
have-
this is a live document.
Mhm.
There's no reason why we can't revise this. At least that's what I heard from Glenn Chalder when he was here.
Yeah,
I mean,
we
it's
have
a
to go
living-
through public meeting and all the other stuff, but yeah.
But
So-
as far as
so-
how you get to do these things, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the implementation of these things.
Right, so how are you gonna address the P and Z regs?
It's gonna be, yeah.
Yeah, it's part of we're already doing it.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, well, it's on our agenda for this year,
so,
For the sidewalks?
to
Okay.
figure out either ordinances or
right
changing our
now,
zoning regs.
So see, to me, that should be in here. You know, I mean, if you guys are doing it and that's not in here,
But it doesn't
no, but
have
see,
to
it
be
doesn't
here.
have to be here. See, if you want to change this document, now we'll have to have a public hearing, all that stuff will happen to address POCD. What we are trying to do is, right, once we identify, if we can take care of through P and Z regulations, right, or ordinance,
Sure, I understand.
we are going to do it,
I understand
right?
that.
So this will, this
These
is.
are talking points
These are talking
for this
points.
committee to
Right.
go forward.
Right, but are you positive that we need a hearing to revise something like this?
To revise our POCD.
Yeah.
These points were taken out of the POCD.
Yeah.
Yeah,
As action steps.
Yes.
How you do those action steps
yeah.
is what we're talking about now.
Yeah,
So we don't
To add or
revise
subtract,
the
yeah,
POCD, we just implement the POCD by revising the zoning
Yeah.
regs.
But I guess what I'm
By
saying is,
possibly
So that-
revising
but
the
It's
ordinance.
us as an action, we don't have to change the document, it's us as a committee giving an action saying, I make a motion to have planning and zoning deal with this.
I get it, it's just,
You wanna revise the talking
if it was
points.
written in here,
Yeah.
I'd be happier.
You wanna revise the talking points.
yeah.
Okay, well, that we can
But
do right
that has a
here.
process.
Yeah.
That is a
No,
process.
no, but you're
right?
talking about just this sheet. We
Yeah.
won't be revising this document.
We can come up
We'll
with
be
our own.
revising how we implement
Yeah,
this document.
yeah,
It's the
absolutely.
top 10 like we talked about
Yeah.
before we had
Right,
the sidewalk.
right, so there was three ways. Was there anything else that you needed to add there, other than the regs? No, okay.
No, my point I was trying to make is, everything's a one.
Yeah.
on
They're
here.
already
So
doing
I'm
it.
saying is, we're doing it, so it doesn't have to be a one. 'cause
Right. Yeah.
But if you look at that thing, 6 pages can go down to like 2 pages.
Right.
Because everything is
Everything's
consolidated
one.
into one big topic. Except for the picture.
So,
Yeah, that should be number one.
all right, so I think we'll look at it and then, you know,
You should shrink it down. to
Shrink
maybe
it down,
the
right.
top 10, like
Yep.
this was.
and then,
So if you look at all this stuff, we're doing a lot of it already.
Yeah,
All
yes,
the
we are.
farmland
Yep.
stuff
I think we
Yeah.
should,
and so
in
on,
that
and
X
then
column,
some things we'll never be able to do.
Yeah.
Promote passenger traffic.
In the complete.
no, that's not
Yeah,
our
yeah,
thing. I mean,
yeah,
that's-
Well, we have
That's a
complete
number one.
streets, and that's one of the things that we were looking at before, complete streets.
Concept, yeah.
And not many people really worked on that column. Thank you, Victor and Sandy.
I mean, I know from my perspective with some of the open space, whatever, I X'd it, because we accomplished some of those things. But, I mean, we should have a code like ongoing, like sidewalks.
Mhm.
So it doesn't look totally blank, we're working on it.
Yes, because there are a bunch of things that are probably
Exactly.
ongoing.
Well, the X is, Well, complete
That-
streets, that deals with the whole complete streets topic with sidewalks and
Right.
accessibility and
Bikeway.
bikeability and all
We
that.
can't
That's
X
what
that.
deals
That's-
with. No,
that's
the
ongoing.
X's mean.
That's number one is our topic.
Yeah,
And
the
then
part
pages
of-
of topics.
Yeah, that means that's part of that topic.
It means what?
The last column,
Complete streets, question mark. X means these things fall under complete streets?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
I see,
Yes.
thank you,
Or what we believe falls
Yeah.
under.
I see.
so, and that was something that we sat down with the mayor and discussed. I was hoping she'd be here today so we could discuss some other things, but we'll have to.
Is that,
still
is
bring it up.
complete streets an official tag like the Greenway? Do we need to pursue that? Is it an official thing that we need to
Yes, there's a
get?
policy that must be put forth.
Right,
and-
so-
and that, I'll bring the draft.
So what do we need to do as part, from this committee is to get?
Actually, I'll sit down with Steve at our next meeting, we'll talk about the draft policy.
Yeah.
Is that
So
what
you-
I
oh,
want?
sorry, so
We have a
let's go.
bunch of drafts or policies
Policies.
from other towns, and I think,
Yeah.
maybe you weren't here when the guy from Weathersfield was
No, he
talking.
did it on
Yeah.
Zoom, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Zoom thing about
Oh,
that, it's
yeah.
it's a policy and it has to be accepted by the council. And
Yeah.
some are as short as like here's 4 pages Weathersfield.
Yeah, I mean, there's
Here's-
certain things that
here's
have to be
Madison, 8
included.
pages, you
Yeah.
know,
So
so
should-
everybody's a little
So
different.
out of this whole thing here, should we make it
That
that should be our guiding force for the next
Yeah.
meeting is literally
Plus, the complete
come up with a
streets
complete street and that will kill like 4
encompasses the
pages.
sidewalk
There's probably
Really?
a couple things that we should look at.
Sure it will.
and the
Complete-
bikes.
Complete streets, and then there's another one, I forgot the name, but I gotta look it up, and it has to come, we have to have this study done, and that.
The road value?
Not the road diet, but it's something that opens up
Oh.
avenues if you have this official study done, we're one of the few towns in the area.
It's got the
that doesn't
13
have it.
pieces to
Probably
it?
CHRO then.
Yeah, probably CHRO, yeah.
Does it cost anything?
I don't know, Farmington I just saw went out for one. Why I saw that is, I was in one of these newsletter things from one of the professional groups. I think it's actually, it does cost, because I think they were getting it funded through CROG somehow. I gotta look that up, it was recent.
So can I ask a question here? You said you've looked at different towns and their complete streets, like template?
Didn't just the.
Some of them have
their-
policies.
The policy,
So who's
the
gonna,
policy.
is somebody gonna, one of you folks on staff going to
Can
I
I-
actually
put something
have-
together so we can
have
look at it
part
for
of-
the
part of the
next
draft
meeting?
done,
I'm sorry.
because-
Let me just finish my sentence. You're gonna put it together and send it out so we can see it for the next meeting? We don't have to do something on that yet?
No.
Okay, thank you, sorry.
I'll sit down with Steve, because some of them are very complex. I mean, there's accountability, there's goals with reachable goals, and they have to be, able to be obtained. Easily defined goals. So some of them are very complex, and some are very simple, so
Okay.
we wanna
Do the simple one.
keep it easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We wanna keep it
With
easy.
that,
The KISS
keep it-
method.
Keep it
Yes.
simple.
I mean, how
Wanna
many
keep
millions
it
have we
easy.
spent on roads already? Fixed
Yeah.
Upgraded.
10 plus, we're
20.
into the second round.
We're in 20, right?
We're over 11, 12 million in the last 7 years, 2014. But our road ratings are way up compared to anybody else.
Our road ratings,
It's called Pavement Condition Index.
which is
and
good?
Yes,
Oh,
the
okay.
higher the better, so we're at, when we started the program, we were 60-something townwide, and we're up to the 80s. 60-something's average everywhere, so we're
And do
sky
we
high.
get any benefits? Anything
Just
like
that you have good
Just-
roads.
Better shocks.
Better shots,
Better shots.
clean
Right.
tires.
Make a T-shirt.
No, but
Wanted roads.
You can give them out at the picnic.
All right.
pick them at the picnic.
So I think we discussed 4 and 5 sidewalks as well. Right, so we move on
Yeah, well, I
to-
think as far as the spreadsheet goes, I mean, maybe taking, boiling that down
Yeah.
to 10 things,
Yep.
whether it be, and we have to stay away from community character.
Yes, that's.
There's a lot of legislation coming down now, you can't talk about
Community character.
Oh, my God.
community. No, you can't.
We
Really?
cannot even
Yes.
consider, P and Z cannot
What
consider.
I'm
you
not
have to
saying it,
talk-
but you know what I'm
I
talking
don't
about.
definitely-
What
Oh,
you
my
have to
goodness.
talk about is this, if it's
crazy.
the specific site, it's the specific site.
Characteristics.
Like of a building, the character of a building?
Character of the site.
Yeah, it's like a slope
The
or
slope, the
ditch or
wetlands,
The
wetlands
total
or that kind of
physical,
stuff.
that you can't debate it, there's no, it's totally subjective or objective. It's nothing that you,
Yeah,
okay.
but, yes, so.
You can't say it's a pretty red brick building, it's just red brick. It's okay.
No, I think what they're
It
saying
could be
is.
red in your
you-
world, it could be blue in my
You
world.
can't say.
No, you
"Hey,
cannot
this doesn't
say-
fit in with the community."
Right.
What's
You can't
the
say it fits in
community
with the character of the town.
You can't say.
What is the character of the town?
You can't say next door is
It's a good thing
brick,
we
so
got
you
this-
can put stones.
It's a good thing we got the Straska referendum done. It's probably never,
So,
I'm sorry.
But that was just our money, so it's pretty
Exactly.
careful.
If you go to a big city and you have these different ethnic neighborhoods who
Right.
represent the character of the neighborhood,
Thanks,
well, you can't
Tony,
say that
for
anymore.
Yeah.
Now you're singling out someone.
Or collection of stuff to help that. get
So
passed.
what about when you go to Chinatown in New York, you can't say that?
That's politically incorrect.
So where are we? We have 4 or 5 now.
You can't
We
say
are
it's the
at
character of the
6
neighborhood,
now.
I know. It's-
Right?
Can I ask, can I go to 5 and just ask Steve for a sidewalk update? You
No.
mentioned Elm Street.
Elm Street, yeah, we're working on it. It's taking a little bit longer.
Are you gonna do that S turn? Is that what you're doing?
You're gonna have a sidewalk from Route 3
Yeah.
to Route 99.
Wow,
All the way.
That's
Wow.
We
nice.
did the survey, we dumped the data, we got a little bit more survey to do, it's just we've run into, summer, yeah, COVID things, just a little bit of everything,
Is
just
that
bogging us
considered
down.
a state road?
That is a state
So
road.
we
Yeah,
have-
160.
So we have DOT,
We have well, yes, we have DOT, anyway, so I said the DOT reviews the plan,
okay.
cause
That
that's
says
the,
enough.
they administer the grant. It's a federal grant, but it's administered by the state.
What about, there's a short piece on Main Street, State Road 99, between Brook and School Street. There's a sidewalk from Brook Street south for a little ways,
Yeah.
but then if you come from north to school, where it picks
There's
up a
nothing.
sidewalk, where there's nothing.
There's nothing.
And then it picks up like from Mosier or the playground on down.
Yeah, it goes, yeah.
That's a short piece, is that feasible?
FIFA, I have to look at it, you know, it's
Wow.
just really the first time I've heard that request.
Yeah.
So
um,
that's
But
on
it's-
Brook Street?
It's
On
on
Main.
99.
On
It's on
Main.
99.
Between Brook and
So-
School.
Oh, okay.
Just
It
to
makes sense. It's
there's a
just
Yeah.
small
how to get.
section in there.
finish up on the Elm Street, what's the timeline for that?
Well, we were hoping to be able to bid it this coming spring. I don't think that's gonna happen. It's just, you know, we're kind of bogged back, you know, we got a little backlog right now, stuff that's going on.
But we have the money for it.
Yeah, we have a commitment to fund.
So is that going to be just one shot? We don't have to worry about the 50,000 limit?
No, this is a totally different program.
Okay.
I think it's federal funds, so no, we don't have to worry about it, because it's federal, not state. And then, you know, we have these other spots, like we said, Washington, France Street from Sunset to the convenience store there. There's walls that are required, there's a few other spots, Hayes Road, we've talked about.
Yeah.
New
That's
road.
probably the easiest one, because then we can complete the
How
loop.
about New Road, since we own all that land now?
Really haven't looked at that until, it's the first time I've heard
That's
that.
not a high
Popular.
demand.
I don't
That's
think it's high
another,
demand, because no one's really
If
walking
we're
that.
gonna do anything, we're gonna do it inside
Yeah.
on the farmland.
Right now, people are walking on private, people have been.
Yes.
Yeah, but
Walk-
I'm
People
just saying,
have
New
been-
Road in general, it's
Yeah.
just
Well, we mowed it, so it's.
kind of desolate. It's a big cut through.
It's definitely not desolate. People
What's
walk
it-
across.
it's a
Lawn
cut
pails.
through.
Yeah,
But I've never seen people walking on that road.
I see it all the time.
Do you? On
Oh,
the
yeah.
road? Yeah.
Bikes, walking.
Bikes, I
running.
got-
Got
believe.
A lot of
motorized
bicycles
wheelchair.
on that road, yeah.
There's an individual on a motorized wheelchair that
Mhm.
does
So-
that on a regular basis.
So I think talking about sidewalks, we were talking about connecting from 99 to Riverfront, right?
Yes.
Like different options and
We're-
stuff
we're-
like that.
yep.
So I think that's
That would
important.
be-
That's one of the things was like priority we were trying to figure out is,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, I mean, I had this little sketch I did in February, just, there's no right of way there. So that's, trying to figure out how to get there. We did a sketch here, just the areas that we're looking at, you know, where they are, where we're looking at, like I said. The pieces on, France Street make sense. Yeah, we do have, actually, Sandy, we do have that piece along those,
On Main
Gorman,
Street?
George.
That's on your list?
Yep, to look at. You know, Washington Street makes sense, trying to do Elm Street, Finish off Hayes Road is gonna be the easiest thing.
Now, on the, I mean, I know I'm going back to the riverfront thing. I know you said there is no,
Right away.
right of way, but I think there has to be some right of way, right? It's a state road,
It's a
right?
state road, but it's what you call a two-rod road. It means a rod is 16 point something feet, so it's roughly 32, 33 foot wide road. That includes your pavement and the right of way. And the pavement there, if it's 30 feet, you got 3 feet left.
So how much do we have pavement? I think pavement is not 30,
It's
right?
not 30 there, but I
It's
have
less.
to see, but it's
Uh,
probably 26.
We're talking about Meadow Road itself?
Just
Gloucester.
Glastonbury,
No, the
Glastonbury
Glastonbury,
Ave.
yeah.
Glastonbury Ave, and
Bec-
it's,
and-
that road's probably 26 feet.
I mean, if you go to communities where they have like downtown and
Yeah.
where the houses are right at the
Yep.
road and all that, you see people are walking and they have sidewalks, you know. I know those are tight, but it gives you that feeling
Yes.
of community sense
I
and
understand.
walking, right?
And people
But it
are
was-
driving slowly.
Right.
was
They're not
created
speeding
that way.
like they do up Glastonbury Avenue.
Oh, that's a different.
A lot of those were created that way 100, 200 years ago,
Yes.
probably when they
Yeah.
were built. So now you have down along the riverfront, there's probably 4 or 5 homes. One does have a piece of sidewalk out front, but it's
Right.
on their own property.
Right.
So for us to use it, you'd have to have an easement.
Yeah.
You know, the other ones are built right to the property. Some of them, I think some of them, I was looking at one, the porch is actually over the property line. So it's into the state right away.
Because I think the project that came, they were putting sidewalks, right?
Yeah, but they're demoing and they're
Yes.
just keeping the
Yeah,
But
they
they were
were
putting the
which
footprint.
project?
They were not,
Belvin
it's a
and
pre- it
Gla-
was a
it was a
pre-app.
pre-app.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
so we don't-
proposed,
Oh, the,
sidewalks.
Did they come,
Well, we
they
met on
they
last
came
week.
before you?
Yeah.
Pre-app.
I never saw that
There's
advertised.
no
That's a pre-app.
application.
Yeah, there was no application, it was a
No
pre-application.
application.
No, but
It was a Zoom meeting.
It should have been on the agenda though.
Yeah, it was a Zoom
it
meeting.
was
It
Zoom
was
meeting.
on the agenda.
Really, I'll have to go back and look at that. No, because he,
Zaco?
Somewhere, yeah.
because he proposed
Yeah.
sidewalks on Glastonbury Avenue.
As part of his property, yeah.
Right, and then we also have sidewalks
That would require an easement.
already, but, on the Foundry property along the
There's
whole
that-
parking
there's
lot.
in the
that-
easement. It's on private property though.
That's not, yeah, but,
Yeah.
but
There's a
there-
house there that will stop, the sidewalk will stop at that brown house, and then the Foundry property. There's a house in between this property and that property.
There was a whole sketch shown to this
yeah,
Yes.
body
Yes.
before.
I saw the
Looking at
sketch,
different
yeah.
alternatives,
Yes.
possibly
Yep.
going down
Yeah.
Proud Street
Yep.
and
Yeah.
across.
Right.
And there was a bridge required.
Yeah.
and
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
Love it.
Well, maybe in our lifetime.
Can we make that part of this little Elm Street project and go from
Yeah, could we just take some
Route
of
3
the?
all the way to the river?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You laugh, but we got federal money.
Yes.
They seem to be dumping it left and right anyway. Might as well
Really?
get something to go to the river.
I mean, and I think with the Ames project, whenever it happens, and, you know, this riverfront project, when it happens, I think it's good to connect all
Yeah,
those things,
absolutely.
because it provides like a nice walkable,
Yep.
you know, so.
Whenever it happens.
Right, I mean, it's, you know, but I think
That's the key
maybe,
phrase.
but I mean, if you put sidewalks and stuff, I think people
Yep.
can still walk and.
I
get
have a
advantage.
sidewalk comment that is way left of everything we're talking about, but it's been a bugaboo for me because it's on the South Stein Highway, north of, well, it's now Tomato Joe or whatever that new,
Yep.
right? From there, under the underpass,
underpass, yeah.
it's terrible. You see
We've-
people walking,
they
people
do.
who are carrying their groceries.
We've talked to the DOT
It's
about that, we've
anything.
looked at it. The problem is you have these off-ramps that are a big sweep.
Well, the
And you're
off-ramp, I
coming
know.
around and you gotta promote
Well,
somebody
they're still
walking on
crossing
there.
it. But at
But when
least
you
if,
put the crosswalk and the other stuff, now you're saying it's safe to walk, and it's not.
well, if, at
So,
least if they had a
that's very-
sidewalk, they're still crossing those points.
That's
I
very
understand.
dangerous down there.
It's very
So
dangerous.
no sidewalk is better than a sidewalk? Because then
Because now you're
you're
promoting
reducing
it.
your liability.
You're saying, yes,
Yeah.
you're saying, hey,
Okay.
go walk there and take your life in your own hands.
You
crossing
stop at
that.
Rocky Hill, you don't go to Weathersfield.
This isn't even, you don't even go
It's
to
bad.
Walmart.
We
Yeah,
met
I
with
know.
the
You stop it
DOT.
on the border and,
I know, right?
Because we
Yeah.
talked to them about teeing those intersections up and having traffic lights.
yeah.
And then
that's
it's
tough.
safe and you go across.
Yeah.
But they kind of don't want
Okay.
to part of that right now.
Well, thank you, because that's, I
Yeah,
go,
no, we've
I
been
always
down that
look at
road
that
with
and,
them.
yeah.
Actually, they came in
That was,
on a different, there was a study, and they said, oh, pick 2 areas in town and we'll study it, and that was one of them.
I see.
So, never heard anything back from them, but.
Thank you.
Good. Right, okay. Legislation update. It's a huge.
yes, one of the biggest items that, planning and zoning will have to deal with, and the town will have to take up, is the whole issue of recreational marijuana. And this is just the Office of Legislative Research analysis of the bill, that's all this is. The bill is considerably thicker than
I
this.
think it's 300 pages.
Yeah, so, because we're trying to weed our way through it as far
No
as.
pun intended.
Literally.
So, does that sort of?
But she's
I
getting
have a clip
disjointed,
note
so
that to say,
give her a
like, what we
chance.
have to do.
Oh, my
If you get
goodness.
something from OPM that says that, they could do get signatures and so on and put it on a referendum question.
Well,
whether
there's different
Rocky
things.
Hill wants to do it.
There's the town can say no to dispensaries,
You
whether
can't do
it
that.
be through a town ordinance or through, planning and zoning prohibiting it in the regulations, and some towns have done that so far. Some planning and zoning commissions are setting aside time for a public hearing to do a moratorium, which will basically buy some time to digest all this stuff. And then another way, John says, is that if there's a petition received like 60 days before the election, of at least 10% of the eligible voters, I
Or,
think it's
or
10%.
the vote, people who voted.
I think it's 10%
I
of
think
the
10%
voting.
of registered voters.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
something OPM put out.
Yeah, they would have to have a referendum on that at the election, and then certain things have to be published within a certain time frame.
But in summary, is this all related to whether to allow the sale of marijuana in the town?
Correct,
And if you do pass it, you get 1 store per 25,000 people,
correct,
like that?
yeah.
So,
So
we
we
got
maybe
one
like
store,
one.
that's it then,
Yeah.
we just got one
Yeah.
store.
One,
But-
and then somehow the town would have
But
to
the
collect
town
the
really
tax
needs to weigh in
from that
on,
dispensary.
do they want a
New
dispensary
income.
or don't they?
There you go.
And then-
There's your retail.
Mixed
I
use.
mean,
Mixed use.
Storefront.
So-
Ames,
But my thought is for planning and zoning is
Be
at
busy.
least to, propose
Walkable.
at our next meeting,
No driving.
setting a public hearing on a moratorium, basically for a period of time certain, so as to study this. Now, we can have another hearing to reduce that time if the town gets a petition, or if the town says, no, we don't want it, or, I mean, there's all these other different things coming on. So, that's my thought, just to buy us some time. We had one kinda half-baked inquiry, so to speak.
What's with the
Is it a
pumps?
bakery?
See,
Kim,
pretty good.
Do you remember anything about do we have to designate areas that you can consume it?
I
Or
think
is it-
that's it for
All right.
communities over 50,000 people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
Thank you.
we're kind of slowly learning this stuff, but that's something that I think planning and zoning needs to do.
so are you asking us if we agree that
Well, I just,
we have a moratorium, or
Well, I
suggest
think
that to be,
my idea for planning and zoning is on the next agenda, is to recommend setting a public hearing for a moratorium
oh,
against dispensaries
hmm.
while planning and zoning at least studies it. And it has to be for a specific time frame, and we have to have a moratorium for a purpose. There has to be a public hearing on that moratorium.
Well, it goes into effect next July, right? July 22nd, I think, next year is when legal marijuana will be sold. Can't do it now.
So would the moratorium keep us beyond that date? Buy us a cushion after that? What do we have if we don't have a date now, how can you have a moratorium?
Towns can prohibit it now.
Okay, but what are a moratorium against what date? I mean, don't you have if you have a date, you
Right,
have a
Joe.
moratorium against that date?
No,
Just
a
Ju-
moratorium against allowing,
Someone
someone can come
Somebody
in now,
applies.
someone can come in now and
And apply.
apply for a retail location to sell.
And we'd have to take that
And we'd
permit
have-
into consideration unless we have a moratorium.
Correct.
I
We have
see.
to take that in, and it would have to be considered as any retail location.
I see,
Right.
okay.
So,
We did it for multifamily housing too.
Yep, so,
We had 6-month moratorium on multifamily housing until we figured it out.
yep.
What's
so the
ones
use
you can
will
make it-
happen in June, but this, people can apply to us.
For a
in-
retail
For
location.
retail location.
And you'd have to take that at your P and Z unless we get a.
Yes,
yes,
I
unless
see,
we
I
have
see.
a
So
vehicle.
that's why we're,
So how long would we say, 6 months, or is that for P and Z to
Probably.
decide?
well, that's what we're gonna try to figure
Okay.
out at the thing.
P&Z, yeah.
And would some standard regulations be applied the way it is with a liquor store, you know, schools,
Well,
We
it
have
depends on what
dispensaries.
they decide
We
to
have
do.
medical we have a dispensary
We
right
have,
now.
not a,
No, we
it's
don't.
not
No,
a
not
medical
dispensary.
We have a
No.
producer.
Producer,
That's
producer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, these regulations also define a recreational producer. They define, I forgot a micro cultivator. We have to allow for a micro cultivator, which was a smaller producer. We don't have to have a dispensary though, but that's something we'd have to,
Do we need to address all of our farmland and all the, and if they can grow hemp or all that stuff on
we're
state,
talking,
town
we're
farmland?
we're talking marijuana, we're talking about, not necessarily town land. I mean, town land, they can do an ordinance on that. And they probably should. But,
Grow it on Scottsville
So,
farms.
so right now, we'll have to even take on the marijuana
Grow it in the meadows.
growing
Five
as well.
acres together?
I mean, for,
well,
Well, even
the
these five.
recreational purpose.
They'll be taking a walk.
But I don't want to, we have a producer in town.
Right.
And one of my questions, cause there's more questions than answers.
Yep.
One of my questions is, does the producer automatically get to grow recreational? They're not a dispensary
No,
though.
I
Right.
think they're controlled by a different agency.
Yeah, and I think
don't
all
think-
they
I
have
thought
to
that
do
was
is,
like-
all they have to do is apply for a hybrid license through the other agency, and they can do the recreational.
And- and
But
right-
they're not applying for a dispensary.
But I think we still have to figure out because
Our regulations
our regulation doesn't
say-
allow.
It's all
No.
cash.
Right. It only says medical, so we have to figure out
They
what
can't
we
open
want to do.
Yeah.
They can't
Because
get-
someone can come in and say, I want to grow now.
We could just be the mules.
It's,
After you get that allocation,
the Ozarks.
you can only approve one.
Kim, it sounds fair to me that there would be a moratorium because there's so many questions that you're
There's so
asking
many
right,
questions.
right now that, but as Sandy said, how long would it be for? What would you wanna do it for, till, you know,
I think 6
3
is
months,
fair.
At least
6
6
months?
I think 6 is fair.
Because if you had a public hearing coming up, let's say,
So
people
I
are
think
gonna
we're
throw
talking-
so many questions at you that we
Right.
don't
Well,
even know
it's-
the
it's
questions that we
strictly-
need to know, right?
Yeah,
So I
that's
think,
why we need to learn about it.
Right, so
But
at least
I
6
think,
months.
now let me clear these out. I mean, these are the new legislation.
It's brand
This
new.
is not part of PUCD, right? So I want to make that distinction, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's correct, but that is certainly,
Yeah.
yeah.
Community character.
Ah.
Ah.
Demerit.
Yeah.
Thank you, Victor. No.
What Nancy Reagan said, we'll just say no.
Just say no. We could just get a
Move on.
skillet with an egg on it.
Move on.
Does
Just
anybody
Just thinking
remember
that,
that?
yes, I'm just thinking that.
See
Bring
what
that to the
happens,
public
right?
hearing.
So do you need anything else from us, or? would
No, I
you-
think this was just FYI.
Just FYI.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, affordable housing, now that is in our POCD. There is legislation that has been passed that P and Z will have to, address. And basically, we need to further the Fair Housing Act and create housing opportunities for all, not only those people that are in town, but those people that wanna come to town. So, when we talk about, one of the things we've already done is accessory apartments with it has to be a objective review process, so we basically have a zoning permit process. They also have the opportunity to allow for detached accessory apartments, which they have. A lot of people have been asking about caregiver units, detached temporary caregiver units for people on existing residential lots with single-family homes. Or you can just do this to make housing more affordable, not necessarily affordable as defined by statute, but easier to pay your mortgage. We're also talking about infill affordable housing, affordable as defined by state statute. So it's for moderate income, low income, or very low income infill housing, possibly along a stretch of Solstein Highway, leading maybe up to northward to, say, Parsonage Street. I know we've kind of broached that subject briefly.
Yep.
Allowing for multifamily housing, and I know people in town think that we have a lot of multifamily housing. If you look at the rents of what we have for multifamily housing, you will see, yes, we may have a lot of apartments, but if you look at the rents, it's comparable to mortgages, comparable to single-family homes. Victor mentioned a moratorium that was put forth a while ago. The town council asked P&Z to do a moratorium on multifamily housing. P&Z considered it and said, well, I'll tell you what, instead of doing a moratorium on multifamily housing, what we're gonna do is create multifamily housing in our town center, a town center area, because obviously a vibrant town center, you need people. So that's what the commission did. That also furthers the Fair Housing Act. So all
And
these
it also
things-
requires that 10%
10% of be affordable by statute.
deed restrict, so,
Yeah.
so I don't know if everyone knows, there is a statute, 8-30G, that says any town that does not have 10% affordable deed restricted units, a developer can come in, I'll put these up, P&Z. What's your, what are you gonna do? If we deny, then they go to court, 99% of time, towns lose. So that's one of the things, people I don't think are aware of, 8-30G.
10% of all the housing has to be affordable, or 10% of multifamily, or multi?
All housing.
All.
Oh, yes, and we are at about 5%.
Maybe 5.3, 5.4%.
Berlin, if you look at it, they came all the way up to probably 10, right? They have, and what they did is they required every development that came, 10%, or even more, I don't know, but they required. Unfortunately for Rocky Hill, what has happened is we already had these apartments years ago. So we are not getting those credits.
Right.
I mean, they're not deed restricted anyways, but that was our problem. We already had apartment from beginning. So now what we are trying to do is we put in the affordability requirement. So for example, Ames, they're putting 10%, as affordable. So we lost opportunity with Altera and all those guys. We lost that opportunity. We should have required 10%, and we'll be closer to 10% requirement.
Should that be in our regulations?
We put in.
We have that in the areas, in our regulations where we allow multifamily housing, we have that.
Because we did that with Rachel Drive, didn't we?
That was for single-family homes, there's 8 units, yeah. But that was deed restricted once again.
So, so I think that's the thing. And again, I think with affordable housing, it's not like, I want to say, but it's like, if I want to downsize, for example, and I'm on, fixed income, I would qualify for that 10%. If our parents want to downsize, and they would qualify. For example, our kids, they want to live separate and say, they would qualify based on the income and stuff. So it's not, if you look at it, affordable housing and all that, it's just us. It's about, it's for us. I think that's
Well,
what
a
comes down.
misconception of who it is.
Right, it's a misconception.
Well, you know, all these over 55 communities, that could have been a consideration. Those houses
Yes.
are more expensive than my home.
Yes.
You know, that's not downsizing to me.
No,
Yeah.
to me, that's upsizing.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, they're lovely, yeah, so that's, we could have done it there, right?
Right. So those are things, I think we have to start acting on it, and I think that's what we did when we revised the regulation, required, 10% and all that, so hopefully.
I'm thinking of these multifamilies or whatever, if it's a home association, if there's a fee, a monthly fee, like condos or whatever, how does that fit into the affordability equation?
It's a good question.
I mean, if it's cheap, if it's a reasonably priced property, but you're paying $250 a month, does that
Is that gonna get
equate
waived?
into the mortgage?
There were discussions,
Well, usually a condo associations, you own the property.
But you still
Yeah.
pay a fee.
I think affordable housing is not owning the property, it's renting the property, right?
No,
Or is it
well,
both?
there was some ownership,
Ownership too.
occupied units as well down at, as Steve mentioned, Rachel Drive.
Rachel Drive.
Or-
So if it was an ownership and then there was a fee, would that fit in?
I don't know, that's a good question.
But
Because
there-
Rachel Drive is supposed to have association, but I don't think it was ever
They don't have
formed.
an association.
It was supposed to be though, I think, right?
No,
But it
the
never
two
got
attorneys
formed.
now both passed away during that.
Yeah, it never happened.
Is that why Old Dividend Road got turned over to
No
the
new
town? Was
attorney
it
wants
supposed to
to
be open
take it.
space from them?
The,
A little patch?
You wanna
No, we
talk
didn't
about
get
it?
the, half went, when you abandon a road, half goes to this, water, half goes that, but.
I think affordable housing falls within a fixed income, so it's a 30 or below percentage of
Right.
fixed income is technically what affordable housing, when that term is used. So regardless of the ownership or the rental, it's within the 30, up to, but not to
30% of your
exceed 30% of your fixed income, whether it be through a disability or age limit with social security or whatever those guidelines are.
And then there is a formula that Department of Housing has, and we reached out to Michael Santoro at DOH when we were in discussions with a possible developer for the Ames property to make sure the formula worked for us and we understood it, and how it worked for them, so.
So we
But
have a goal of.
that fee was part of it as well, because that's at 30%.
We as a town have a goal of 10%. That's our goal,
Every
and now
town.
we're.
Every
you're-
town,
every-
everybody in
I
state.
I understand, but what I'm saying is that
Yes.
you said we're at 5%?
5.4.
So
And it.
we have in our POCD
I don't
somewhere
think-
where we're,
I think there was
where
something
we're
about.
got, we have some
Yeah.
action steps or
There's something there about
strategies
affordable housing.
Yeah,
Yep.
that that's a focus for P and Z now.
Right,
Okay.
and that's what
So-
we did in our regulations.
Sounds
We
good.
required the 10% and all that, so, Ames, when they proposed,
Right.
there was 10% requirement,
Sounds good.
so, and I think people will be amazed when they see who qualifies.
Right here, number 5.
There are teachers, there are firemen, there are policemen. I mean, as soon as you join police force, you're not making 6 figures. So you will, they started, so they will, all those people qualify. Caretakers. So the thing is that, all this, the reason why they're talking about affordable and all that stuff, if you have adult, population, like, elderly and all that, who is going to take care of, where are they going to come from? They can't come from Bridgeport, they can't come from here, they can't, because there's travel and, they have to live nearby. All those things, I think comes in.
Are our 2 elderly housing complexes considered affordable?
Yes.
Yeah,
That's good.
Good too.
that I knew.
And we need plenty more units.
Yes.
There's always wait lists.
Yeah.
I think it's only a total of 77 units, so
Yeah,
in
it's not-
comparison,
it's
which
not
is where
much.
numbers get skewed, because Glastonbury has many different, where we have the private, we have a lot of communities that are 55 and older,
Yeah.
and we have a lot of private assisted living facilities, which are
Those are not
outside the
affordable.
purview, are not
Affordable.
affordable necessarily.
No.
Weathersfield has, ours are only elderly and disabled, so there's a few of them that are 2-person, but most of them are single unit dwelling facilities. And the wait list, they're not even taking names on a wait list, the wait list is shut down, because the line itself.
For
But that's,
Rocky Hill?
for Rocky Hill, but that's true across the board, pretty much. There are a few surrounding towns currently with taking names on a wait list, but that's not Rocky Hill unique. That's statewide and nationwide. That's an issue, but that's a New England problem. You're gonna find that in every town. There's wait lists in every town.
And-
Country is.
Yeah.
No, because again, I think the philosophy or the mindset of not developing that type of housing, I think that's what it comes down to, and that's why we have all this need that you can't fulfill. You know, it's,
You think of it as, well, not in our town, we don't need that. That's a city problem, right?
But.
No, but it is.
But it is our problem.
It is our problem
I'm saying
too.
that's the
Yeah.
mindset, not
Yes.
in our town.
Well,
Yes,
see, another
yes.
thing is they talk about the Fair Housing Act so you can't be discriminating
Yeah.
because there was a time where you couldn't have kids in the development. So you can have age-restricted housing, but even then, there's some units that do have kids. And you have to, because it's only a certain percentage of them.
Not legally in Rocky Hill here. Our housing authority won't allow
Yeah.
kids or even visitors really, but.
Yeah, but.
But Weathersfield has family
Yeah.
units that are affordable housing. Rocky Hill
That's
doesn't even
nice.
have that.
That's what we need,
Yeah.
for family.
Yeah, we need that, so.
And I think even the concept of when you have apartments or things like that, you have a lot of kids, I think that's not true as well. When I was at DOH, we did a lot of studies, and it's like, and even our own town, we have examples where, you have apartments, but, like
Yeah,
5 kids.
we have more recent studies with Altera and Montage, the new apartments on Brook Street and like a mirror image on West Street. And we're finding that there's very few children being generated out of those developments. You might have like 11 kids in one or like 9 kids in another. You have very few kids as compared to single-family homes. Plus the prices of these apartments are outrageous, so.
Yeah, we heard
I'm told they're too.
2,000,
Yeah.
2,000,
They
2,200
They want a
bucks.
waiting list.
Yeah.
1 and 2 bedroom
Couple
homes.
bedrooms.
Yeah,
I think one bedrooms are.
One-
Yeah.
It's a 1 and 2
One
bedrooms,
bedroom, two, yeah.
2,000.
So it's a mortgage.
yeah, it's
Those
a
are newer,
mortgage.
those are newer
Hell of a lot
ones.
more
than that.
Some of the ones up at Century Hill,
even the old
formerly
ones.
Century Hills, but those that are much, much older with a lot of other issues for one bedrooms are pushing 2,000. Some
Yes.
of them are $1,800,
Yeah,
$1,850.
it's like a mortgage, it's
Oh,
like,
okay.
So,
Yeah.
it's tough.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So that's affordable housing for us.
Yeah, but there's a lot of opportunity. For example, Southstein Highway has some areas where they have like retail or office down below and maybe vacant office space above.
Yep.
Those vacant offices may be converted, if we set up the regulations into
Yep.
housing units.
And I think along those lines, I think the thinking was that if you want to make something successful, right, like either downtown or town center or whatever, you need mass, right? You need people living there. If people come in the morning at 8 and people leave at 5, you have a ghost town. It's not a town center. I think what you want is you want vibrant town center, even at like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. You want people walking, you want people shopping, you want, so that's the town center. So you need mass. If you just put like all commercial, people, just come in and out and we have, a lot of cost. Town has cost because people are using all these amenities and they live. So I think that's another thinking behind, like, that's why you have Blueback Square and all that, it's a mix. It's not just commercial, it's like mixed because you need those people. So,
One other item, any of the land use applications, what they did in the legislature, is they took an extended deadlines, by, typically it's a 5-year process, and then things expire. We're talking like 14 years now, with a 5-year extension period.
We'll be looking
So
at,
we're looking at 19
we'll be
years.
looking at the foundry.
For another
Yeah.
19 years.
Yeah,
Oh my
so,
God.
yeah,
Yeah,
things pro-
2033, I think.
Yeah, so prior to 7/1/11,
Get your walker.
certain
Do you
things,
wanna go
14
visit it?
years, up to 19 years. Wetlands now, you can actually go, I think it's 10 years now.
So these are
so-
new rules?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so there's a lot of,
COVID rules.
yeah,
You don't have to have a public hearing and.
Yep.
not to extend, no. So-
And why did they do this? Why did they do this?
COVID.
The backlogs.
Yeah,
Yeah, public
In order
cost,
to- it was
backlog,
so
yeah,
clogged,
everything.
yeah.
Same concept as the court systems are doing. Clean slate, kind of reset or just put them out, same exactly
Clear
with
the
the
decks.
courts.
Wow.
That's what our judicial system has done with the
Yeah.
2 years of backlogs.
Yeah, so these are good things.
So I think things are changing, and I think
Yeah.
it's, we have to take opportunity while we have, for whatever it is, you know, and
May I ask if Foundry's ever gonna present again? Do we know anything that's happening with that?
Well, it's
Looks
in-
like they've
it's-
stopped
It's in one
everything
of
down
these,
there.
it's in one of these categories as far as an extension goes.
Yes.
But, it's my understanding they're at,
Deep.
DEP now. So they passed muster with DOT finally for a basically at-grade rail crossing that took them well over a year to get approved. And now they're at, deep, so.
But they should be some.
Something should be happening there,
Yeah,
we think?
yeah.
And I heard something, he said that the towers are not coming down?
Oh, I don't know about that. I thought the plan was for them to come down, but
That's the latest,
Oh.
thing was that was going to be in a different phase, but,
that could be like a bird
We
view
made
or
the
whatever
condition
view.
in phase one though.
Yeah.
We made a
You go
condition.
up.
They
Yeah, oh,
come
yeah.
back,
They'd have to come
modify-
back.
Yeah, they have to
modify
come
the
back and
permit.
modify
I've
the
heard
plan.
it's too
They'll be coming
expensive,
back.
and so they have to come back and modify the permit.
I think that will give like a nice
For
view.
2030.
If there is.
That would be great. We'd have our dispensary up there.
We could
Get a
paint-
drone.
We could paint the
Spencer
towers,
in around.
just like UConn, paint the towers and put our names up there.
There you go.
All right,
Deep breath, Kim, deep breath.
Put a big Rocky Hill Terrier instead of a husky on the side.
that's it, right?
Well,
Item 7.
If we could just recap what's for next month? For
Complete
next
streets.
meeting?
Next.
Complete streets.
Yeah.
So I think it's a complete street. Also, on our POCD spreadsheet, we said like, 10
Top
10
10.
item, top 10.
Top
Broad
10.
categories.
Top
yeah.
10. And those top 10 is not requiring money, right? I mean, I think we want to make sure.
But within reason.
Within,
Common sense.
yeah,
Inexpensive.
inexpensive, yeah, it's like whatever.
Everything costs money.
Realistic.
And eliminating there's things on there about explore economic development, which is sort of an overarching, but we have
Right.
you know what I mean, like,
Yeah.
Right.
like we have somebody,
Those out
so
there.
that is
Yep.
kind of, I think some of those can be eliminated in the sense that it's not
Yeah.
task specific
Yep.
or, so there's a lot that can be weeded through.
So you guys will be ready with that, quarter?
Also, we should.
Well, it's October, right, so you got 2
October,
months.
too.
Yes. That's enough, right? I think that's enough.
Like 2 weeks of paving coming
Yes.
up.
Yes.
We're
I
starting
know,
next
our
week.
street, I heard,
Yep.
very good.
All right, any other business? Nothing,
That I
right?
know of.
All right, next meeting, October 6th. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Okay, aye.
Motion passes. Thank you all.
Yeah,
Thank you.
nothing's ever been done on here, it hasn't
So-
seen. By the main tracks, how long you been?